It's about the feeling it gives you. You know, the feeling of our place in the world, you know, where we are, and nature is our mother. Nature is, you know, more important than us, and I don't think we live in a world like that anymore. Or in the West, we don't. So coming here just gives me a sense of that, and then I can take that back into the world, back into my work, and use that feeling I've got. So when they're culling the deer, there's a lot of it, the meat, etc., gets used, and as I said, even some of the things like the hooves. And I just started wanting to work with the skin. I just thought it was an amazing material. And then it was that realisation that it was an animal, and it had life, and I needed to honour it in the making. And it just felt right to bring all of these skins together and try and make something larger. Great sound.
So you can get on to the next bit.
Yeah. I suppose because we know it's near the end now. So where are we going to take the next lot from there?
I think there are some very big drums in the world. I think there's a 7-foot drum in Alaska called the grandmother drum, but that's been made with one entire animal, whereas this is, I think, a first where several animals have been brought together and stitched together. But as we've made it, we've considered that maybe, and this is a hypothesis, that ancestrally a commodity like rawhide would have been very valuable to the tribe, and they would have used it to create their shelters and carrying and binding. But that maybe in order to create musical instruments, they would have stitched together the offcuts that weren't used for anything else.
And then come around. So it was the material that, if you like, gave me the idea of I want to work with other artists to make this material talk, to make this bigger idea of nature come alive. And so sound and light became the obvious thing. Isn't it? Some people do cling to life.
Something to change.
Yeah.
Definitely look forward to it, seeing it change.
But I think that's the type of person you are, as opposed to what a lot of people in life, they cling, don't they? They don't want change, even though it's the one thing that's certain in life. The only thing that's certain in life is everything changes. It's the one thing that humans actually struggle with, I think.
And it's dissolving, and the cracks in the rock.
It's a bit like an archaeological excavation. It's a landscape. This is something that actually gives you a glimpse of something that's really quite old.
And beyond us.
And beyond us.
I don't think you can put stuff into work. I don't think you can put emotion, for example, into work. I think it comes out. So it's a relationship. It's I don't go in. It's that sort of more of the idea of direct carving, where you start, or I look at it as a game of chess as well. You have a piece of stone, you start, which has attracted you, and normally it started a journey somewhere, whether it's been in the river, it's had this journey of history beyond us, and then you start a conversation with it, and you make a move, and then the stone reveals something else, so you make the next move, and you might have 3 moves ahead. A bit like a game of chess. I don't know how many moves one can think of, but for me there's only so many, so I can't think what it's going to be eventually. It is just, and so it's this conversation with this material, and it's very humbling to see what's revealed and what comes, and eventually hopefully you reach a conclusion, which you may or may not be happy with, but there's an end.
The cave we were going to go to is up in that cliff line up there. And,
is that Victoria Cave?
Victoria Cave.
Right, okay.
And there were some very big excavations there in the 19th century, and it was found that the cave had been occupied by hyenas.
Yorkshire hyenas.
We've now been able to date this event, and it's about 125,000 years ago.
Wow. We weren't here then. Not here.
And I've got some of the bones from those excavations out for you to look at.
Wow, what a find. Was that found underground?
That was dug out in the 1930s in the Ribble Valley, actually. This one isn't from a cave, but we have aurochs bones from the caves. The bears are hibernating in the cave. and then the first people come.
What's that one? Sorry,
that's bear as well.
Wow,
it's a brown bear.
Wow.
And these were in part of the cave that had a beautiful smooth clay floor, so the preservation
I know, look at that.
is wonderful.
It's just amazing.
Word.
It's probably got sound. I mean, you talked about sounds and you know, that everything has a vibration. That's what I remember you talking about, and I got terribly excited by the idea that you could find something in this which translated 125 when we weren't walking this landscape. But I painted with inside it. I just kind of made marks and stuff and then started the process. But a lot of it is, it's like birthing, because when the skin is wet, it's like after birth or something. It's very slimy. It's really, but it's very, you know, really quite hard to work actually. I ended up using gloves with little sticky paws on, like you get sticky ones on your feet. You know, those ones that have sticky pads on, because that way you could actually get a grip on the skin. Because otherwise, your own skin on skin, it was just really just too. You couldn't get the tension. That's some great, some great bits.
So
When you take them out of context.
It all as part of the project.
That was a bit more.
Carrie's the one who's doing the workshop.
Sort of responds to a certain range of notes, but not the high and the low ones. It's sort of the little bit high, the middle ones. It's interesting.
I mean, I could easily get Ken to make up a piece of wood that could be attached onto
between
these
the two,
and then put the spots on there, however we wanted to do it. And you could even have, if it was a thin-skin, words or something, or something in between. So you'd look up and see.
Yeah, you could possibly even just use these lights pointing inwards at something that would reflect down, maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit. Actually, have to walk towards the light.
Yeah.
And again, the idea of the sound then being enhanced via that, or the sound responding to that. The sketches more than the drawings, though. Although the paintings were amazing, but the sketches, some of them were just so dynamic. Yeah. Elisa came, I did a little gig.
They're also quite like shadow, which is the negative double of the body.
See, that reminds me of that holding that fossilised hyena poo, and he was saying the seeds in it are in the flowers that we walked through. That's just, yeah. Been telling everyone about the hyenas going around with Yorkshire accents 130,000 years ago.
I've really got this idea. I want to create a very, very beautiful, sort of Japanese, sort of almost in the sense of a holding for water that somehow reflects. So that. Yeah. So that's exactly. So that's, I've sort of got that in my head, but not like that. So I'm thinking kind of much more a vessel with an edge. I've got really clear, very beautiful edge.
I'm really interested in symbolism. So I was looking up the symbols of cave, light, lightness, shadows, bone. And I think these could be really interesting.
Lightness is depicted by the symbol of dance.
And cave, because obviously we're going to be going to a cave, so womb. Meeting place, human heart as spiritual centre, security, impregnability of the unconscious.
When I did workshops for little children, so primary, and I just gave them a lump of clay, and literally there was no rules as in what they could do, and it was really common how many made caves.
Nature, nurture, skin and bone.
We all know it, it's a language that we all know, so it can bring peace, it can, it's sort of we're born from it.
Some sort of feeling of these secret spaces and darkness, being comfortable with darkness, there's something beautiful about that. I feel that, I hope I can translate into sound to support this sculpture and light. to keep yourself ballasted. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I got a bit cocky on that
It's
one.
hard, isn't it?
So, yeah, it's lovely.
It's
I like
good.
that. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
So yeah, it was all very intuitive, and then I just started writing this music, carried on writing it, and then eventually wasn't living in the West anymore, was back in a city, and someone said, oh, I heard that you write music, and it's electronic music. I sort of started accumulating little bits of kit and using my voice just as spoken word with just little samples like activity, action, sort of using words and sort of playing with words sort of thing. And then, yeah, so because they said that, I said, oh, I'm not ready. And then he said, you'll never be ready. And I was like, right then. Talking about the Sadie in me, I was like, right then, let's do it. So yeah, I basically did my first live gig, and then from then on, yeah, just kept, that's it really. Found it in that sense, but it's always been very intuitive. And I have done some studying, but it's always been very sort of, for me, it literally is how I can communicate authentically.
That's beautiful.
Nice basic with the trambos over.
If you can have that light like that with the odd word.
Yeah.
Well, do you
That's
remember
what
the
I think.
dreams one where I'd reflected it just off the bowl of water?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the effect that I was going for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Yeah, same.
Yeah, so
It only
it's
comes
just
in
off the
some
occasionally.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So people can be asked
Could it be
to
on one of
stay
those
to watch
slide,
and
circular, like, you know, you can get like the slide projector things where it goes around. That
yeah,
sort of
well,
idea.
if you just have it, you could just have it sort of floating. I use some for that. I was using clear perspex.
Right.
So essentially, if you were to look at the water, it's not there until it's a reflection.
this friend that died, she said, was this woman that does the gong bar. When they were in Brazil, Astrid actually admitted to her, she'd never admitted to us, that there was a part of her that wanted to die, and I think there's a part of all of us that wants to die. You know, finding that part is not something we normally come across, but somewhere that idea of going back to what is beyond us, something beyond.
And it's hard to live, it's hard to die, and it's also hard to live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Last night I was reading about Jung's 4 stages of life that we all go through, although not everyone reaches the 4th one, which is more of the acceptance stage and actually more of the spiritual, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience rather than humans having a spiritual one.
One of the big skins I've dried. It's still got a bit of the hair on, but it's pretty good. So at the moment, it's absolutely unworkable.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why it's really, so you guys can see that you can't really do anything with it. But what we could do is take this next door and play with it as a light to see what it's like. And maybe it was too literal to do, you know. But could we distort them slightly?
Yeah.
You know, is there any merit in that? Does it not need it? So it's the a bit like when you did that distortion on the cave. It was quite interesting how when you distorted it, it made those extraordinary.
Yeah, it's
Stretched it out like that,
yeah.
stretched it out. I really like that. And then presumably all of these will do a similar thing with light, won't they?
Across, well, they'll just grow.
Yeah. And then you've got rhythms going on as well, you see. So something has to come from here. So if those are the ribs, it has to also sort of come through from here and up to that one point up there. Yep. So that's your flesh on the side where it's been killed. And then this is, and it just comes off. The dogs love it. So for me, I feel very strongly that if you're going to kill an animal, you honour it, all of it. And these skins would have been used for our survival. In their traditional form, we would have used them to clothe ourselves, for our shelter, obviously the meat for our food. It would have been integral to the way we lived. And now, you know, we buy things in supermarkets with no idea about the meat anyway, the sourcing of it. And I can only say that this animal will have died instantly, in a moment, wouldn't have known about it. They have to kill within a sort of space of that much into the heart. The meat would have been eaten, but unfortunately at the moment these skins have no future anymore. You know, we buy our clothes from China and India. We don't use these skins. So I'm trying to find a way of respecting the animal and honouring the animal. They're incredibly beautiful, majestic creatures, and we're giving them a voice. Giving them a voice. So that's the window space, which we've got a problem with.
Okay.
And then we've also got another space here. That's another entrance which we've got a problem with. And then we've got a projection here, haven't we?
Okay.
That sculpture, that's the sculpture, whatever it's going to be, which is going to project onto that wall over here.
As a shadow.
I was thinking right across.
Oh, you're thinking that way.
That way.
Okay.
So
So they will come. That will come in when
Yeah.
people enter. They enter into the
And they're
shadow
casting their own shadow onto the wall.
behind them.
So I personally use light in that as a signifier of this thing that we can't quite grasp, because it is transient. It's something we can't touch, but it feels like we can. So once you've got the shadows in there, the moving shadows is this passing transient life that we all have.
I always feel, and I talk to people who come and birth drums with me, and we do call it a birthing process, but in fact it's more of a rebirthing, because the skin has died with the animal, but then by creating a drum or some other piece with that skin, you're kind of giving it an opportunity to come to life again in a different way. And a drum can be very special because it actually plays music, so you're actually giving the animal a voice.
So a lot of the sort of themes that have come up around the collaboration has been around this insignificance, transience. So, you know, looking at our place in nature and where we fit in. And so this drum, it's like our heartbeat, it's our skin, it's animal skin. That's all we are. We're all connected. So it has lots of possible themes, and I think people will find what they want in it. I know what it means to me, but I don't think that has to be the same for everybody. I hope it will evoke some feeling, and it will be fairly central to the exhibition, very central.
What do you think?
That will be seen like that. Yeah, no, that's quite cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Just going to take that down.
I just need to make sure I get the length right so it's safe.
Yeah.
Because this red thing is a bit cumbersome, so if I can use the right one, it's probably the better.
Beautiful. Teeth. Scapula. I feel very moved at this point. Quite sad that it's over. The collaboration's been extraordinary, and bringing it together today. Yeah, it's very moving. I was really sort of welled up. I think we have created something really quite special that touches me anyway, and I hope it will touch other people. But I'm just thinking from there how it relates. Is there a relationship I'm looking for? And I think it's just...
Yeah, I mean, for me, technically, it's definitely shown me that, less is more. It's shown me that I, again, which is quite nice, that I can envision and I can produce what I'm envisioning. And also just one of the vocal parts in particular, I really didn't want it to be perfect. I wanted it to be quite imperfect, if you like, quite raw and quite naked voice. And it seems to have, again, done what I wanted it to do. So, yeah, feels good.
I really hope people play with their shadows. That's one of the things that was a major issue for me, to really get people to be involved in the space, to be part of it. So their shadows are part of the experience. They're fleeting shadows. They're telling stories across the space, basically, with them. Because we're all part of this whole experience, not just this installation, but living life together.
I breathe, you breathe. I breathe because you breathe. I live, you give. I live because you give. I live, you give. I live because you give. Because you give, I live.
It's been such an honour to have this time and space to work with two other artists, well, three other artists, you as well, Ron, and create something without any commercial intent. I just hope that it gives pleasure to the audience that will come. Yeah, and I hope we've honoured what I wanted, which was honouring nature and honouring nature, skin and bone. That's what I hope it has done.